where do you see Web3 and Flux in 5 years?
Well, I'm a firm believer that this doesn't change overnight. I mean, if you go back, I was part of the original, OGs that moved from bare metal to cloud. And I remember sitting in board meetings trying to tell people, like, look, we need to move our infrastructure to the cloud. Well, what's the cloud? Where's the cloud? I don't even understand the cloud. Okay. So it took 10 years, the better part of 10 years, and we still have holdout individuals, the laggards that aren't necessarily moved to cloud infrastructure. The cloud is real. It is a place. It is a co-location. It is redundant. It is static. So that's Web 2. So what I see are early adopters who understand that this is going to impact their business model, start to research how they can have symbiotic relationships with Web 3. So I think the natural transition was bare metal to cloud, from cloud to Web 3. And then I think there still is a span between all three of those. And we're going to go after large institutions that are looking to expand. I mentioned Airbnb, but, imagine if, if you had Uber on running on Flux as an autonomous network. So we bring lots of use cases. Here's the kick-ass part. Right? This is the part that gets me excited. If you were a major juggernaut in Web 2, the Twitters, the Facebooks, or Meta, whatever they call it now, and you have built this Web 2 legacy-based infrastructure, that means nothing in the Web 3 world. You are nothing in the Web 3 world. The Web 3 world is completely different. So you're already starting to see major players hiring Web 3 individuals that understand that this is the natural transition. And if they're not first movers, they're going to miss out. Look, Netscape Navigator was like the go-to search engine. It was like everybody used it. It was on every computer. It was everywhere. And along comes Google, right? And disrupts them and says, there is the algorithms are better. The deployment's better. The look is better. It's cleaner. People adopted it quicker. And Netscape Navigator doesn't even exist today. So their world, which they controlled in Web 1, which was read, when we became Web 2, which is read write, they were no longer valid. And now we're moving to Web 3, where it's read write and own. So these folks who built Web 2 infrastructure, if they're not wise and they don't start looking at how they can deploy on Web 3, they will cease to exist as a business model. They will be the Netscape, AOL, you name it. You can go on and on. So over the next 5 years, I think you'll see those folks start to launch like these relationships with Web3. I mean, I can tell you right now, we're working with many, many large companies who want to understand, how Web3 works and why it's going to benefit them. So I said in a meeting the other day for 2 hours, I was the only one that wasn't wearing a suit and tie. And at the beginning of the meeting, they kind of like scoffed. And I was like almost like this weirdo in his basement that, is like this cypherpunk guy that, he wants to just burn down the world. And they almost scoffed at me at the beginning. But at the end of the 2 hour period, they asked to work with us. So, people, when you present them with the real use case, and it's going to disrupt their business model, they get a little terrified. And that's man, those are the moments I relish. I love that. I love seeing the look on their face when the light goes off and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's very hard to understand Web3 if you don't have like use cases, because most people just talk Web3, and you don't quite understand what's that all about if someone doesn't explain it to you in the 85 way. Explain me like I'm 5.
Well, I think a lot of it is the term Web3 is kind of they use it as a buzzword, but the fundamental underpinnings of what it is just decentralized compute. That's all it is, So, we embrace the Web3 because it's easier. Folks that were in Web 2 or in any really business model, okay, and you started talking to them about crypto or blockchain, Nope, that's a scam. It's, it's bad. It's this. It's, only people use it for illegal stuff, yada, yada, yada. But crypto, no blockchain. When you explain them what Web 3 is, it looks like Web 2. And people that were resistant to moving into crypto and blockchain because of the connotation that it had will move to Web 3 because it looks like what they already know. So you can easily explain that between those two things, and they don't care about the fundamental technology underneath of it. They just want to be able to understand, here's Web 2, here's Web 3.
I wonder if Satoshi.
It's exactly like Wi-Fi. Like you have that magic moment when you don't need to know what's going on behind. It just works.
I wonder if Satoshi understood what will the blockchain bring, if he saw that far.
Well, if you go back and look at some of his posts on his blog specifically, and there's a couple of emails, I believe it was to I can't remember who it was to, but anyway, the crux of it is he understood that proof of work would iterate. Now his vision, I don't know that he could have. He did talk about consensus. He did talk about if somebody in the project didn't agree with the direction of the project, they could create a fork from the project and they can run their own project. I don't know if conceptually he envisioned looking at what we are today in terms of all these altcoins that are out there. And I think he would be pretty upset with some of the projects like the meme coins and really just the shit coin out there. But the thing about it is he acknowledged multiple times that these nodes and this mining infrastructure would kind of almost come under attack because of the use of resources. So it was a necessary evil for decentralization, but kind of the holy grail for that is to create a proof of useful work, which is exactly what Flux has been building on for the past 4 years. So I'm not saying we're fixing Satoshi Nakamoto's problem. I think the problem's a real one, and we got to continue to, as a community. And I'm not talking the Flux community. I'm talking as the blockchain community. Look at solutions to provide better solutions to how we provide these comp resources. ASICs are not going to do it. GPUs are going to do it because I can use GPUs to render. I can use GPUs for folding. I can use GPUs, real proof of useful work. So, yeah, I mean, I think Web3 is really going to, it's gaining its attention now to the very early, if we're on the adoption curve, right? Here's the adoption curve. We're down here, way before early adopters. We're like literally at the beginning of a baseball game. We're not even in the first inning yet. We're in the dugouts. So I think over the next 5 years, I think you're going to see that adoption curve. And like Joe mentioned about Wi-Fi, I remember the first time I turned on my very first Wi-Fi router, and I was like, it's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Did I understand the fundamental underpinnings of how it worked? Nope, didn't care. It was nice. Now I could sit in my living room with my laptop. So, it all worked out in the end. But I think that's what sets Web3 apart a little bit, because you really have two demographics. You have retail, the individuals who are going to use it and deploy on it, and then you have the institutional folks who are going to want to figure out how to migrate into a specific part of Web3.